Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Planning Commission meeting of February 11th, 2008. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the Secretary please call the roll?
Commissioner Adam?
Here.
Commissioner Fisher?
Here.
Commissioner Grumney?
Here.
Commissioner Lund?
Here.
Chair Reynolds?
Here. And now is the time for public comments. I have one card from Doreen Chang. If you'd come forward. She might have stepped. I guess she's not in attendance. Mr. Town, would you like to do the written comments and announcements?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I have several items tonight. First of all, with regard to case 6A, as noted on page 1 of your packet, staff is recommending that this item be continued to your next meeting on February 25th due to an error in the public notification for this case. We encountered a minor but important error in that notification, and therefore we would recommend that you continue that hearing to the February 25th evening, and the applicant has been advised of that. Secondly, I would like to note that there is a supplemental packet for this evening containing minor corrections to the findings for two cases which you heard at your last meeting with regard to the proposed project, tract 5363 on Olson Road, and also I included a copy of the wireless communication facility resolution just as background information for case 6B as referenced in the staff report. Finally, I would just like to introduce James Fryhoff, who is visiting us from the Ventura County Sheriff's Department. He will be a new staff member who will be occasionally attending Planning Commission meetings as well. So welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'll once again call the public comments. Doreen Chang, if you would come forward and state your name and city of residence. Oh, this is a statement card. I'm sorry. It's not. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's my mistake. It's a statement card. It's not a public comments card. You're here for case 6B, and we'll be hearing that in just a few moments. We'll go on to item 6A. Would the clerk please call open the hearing?
Agenda hearing advertised as required by law is hereby open to consider agenda item 6A regarding case TTMJ 2007-70142, HPMJ 2007-70289, Applicant, Morningstar Development, request to allow the re-subdivision of approved tentative tract 5465 into 10 lots of record and to modify the approved hillside plan development to allow construction of 9 single-family dwellings. Location, 3205 Morningstar Avenue. Recommendation, continue to February 25th, 2008.
Is there a motion to continue this hearing? Commissioner Lund?
Thank you, Chair. I move to move case 6A TTMJ 2007-70142 HPMJ to February 25th Planning Commission meeting.
Any comments? Would you please vote?
Motion passed 5-0.
Would the Secretary please open case 6B?
Hearing advertised as required by law is hereby open to consider agenda item 6B regarding case SUP 2007-70455. Applicant, T-Mobile, request to allow the installation of 12 panel antennas within an extended steeple and installation of wireless equipment cabinets at an existing church. Location, 801 Knollwood Drive. Recommendation, approve with conditions.
Good evening. Ms. Perdoso, would you like to give the staff report?
Yes, good evening, Chair, members of the Commission. The project in front of you is a wireless installation at 801 Knollwood Drive. Okay, the installation entails 12 panel antennas within an extended steeple and an existing church, and the equipment cabinets are going to be placed at ground level inside a new equipment enclosure next to the existing stairs. The project is located between Reno Road and Knollwood Drive and Lynn Road, and this is the proposed site plan where the antennas are going to go inside this extended steeple in this location, and the equipment enclosure is going to be just on the adjacent to the stairs, one of the entry stairs. The existing steeple goes to about 55 feet, and the extended, the new proposed steeple will be 59 feet. This is a view from the other side on the elevations where we show the extended portion of the base of the steeple and then just the steeple being raised up. This is a picture looking northwest. This is existing. This part of the base is what's going to be extended, and then the steeple part will be put on top of it. This is another view looking west, and this one is looking east. The 12 antennas are proposed for 3 sectors, and the tip of the antenna is going to be at 41 feet above grade. And the antennas will be concealed within the extended base of the steeple. Color and finishes are going to match the existing building. The steeple height is now 53 feet, and is proposed to be 59. However, SUP 71-153 Mod 2 approved the maximum building height for that church to be at 55 feet. So this is basically a net increase of 4 feet above. And like I mentioned before, the equipment cabinets are going to be inside a masonry equipment enclosure on the west side of the church. The project's not going to have significant visual impact, as it's going to be concealed behind an FRP material to match the existing building. The proposal complies with the city standards and guidelines for installation of wireless facilities, and which also indicates that antennas must be integrated into existing buildings and structures such as church steeples wherever possible. The project is categorically exempt from CEQA requirements, and the staff recommendation is to approve SUP 2007-7455 based on the findings and subject to the conditions detailed in the staff report. Also with me over here is Jonathan Kramer. He's our consultant, so if you have any questions, we're available.
Are there questions to staff? Commissioner Fisher?
Ms. Pedroso, have you received any comments from the neighbors adjoining this property?
I did receive a few phone calls, but not written comments from anybody.
Question for Mr. Kramer. Mr. Kramer, in T-Mobile's packet on project description, it talks about the project benefits, more importantly, enhanced 911. Does T-Mobile actually have enhanced 911 in this county? Is that currently going on?
I don't know. Good question. I don't know what the current status of their deployment of E911 is, but the applicant would certainly be able to bring you up to speed. As a general answer, the FCC is requiring the carriers to provide the service, so I would imagine that their steps towards that progress are being made.
Okay, I'll talk with the applicant. I know certainly in this county it's been dragging on for years and years, so be a good question for the applicant.
Commissioner Lund?
Good evening, Mr. Kramer.
Good evening.
We have other cell antennas in that steeple presently?
No, this is a new one for this location.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Adam?
Thank you very much. Hello, Ms. Pedrosa. Just so I get my the dimensions right here, the spire itself is not actually being heightened, is it? It's the base that's being added that will house the antennas that it's going to add the extra height.
That is correct.
And the base will be an extra 6 feet. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. Let me ask Mr. Kramer a question then, if I may. The antenna, if I read the report correctly, are about 4 feet 9 inches. And what would be the minimum height to fit the antenna in the base?
Well, conceivably it could go down so that it is. Ms. Pedrosa is showing me in the report where it indicates that it's 59. The antennas are 59 inches tall. Typically, the mounting bracket behind that is going to be slightly larger for stability purposes, but that's approximately the minimum height. From a practical matter, because of aiming purposes, typically a carrier will want some additional space around the antennas.
Okay. It's a very scenic area over there, and Lynn Road is a scenic highway, and, you know, naturally I'm concerned about the height, so if the antennas could be put into a box less than 6 feet, then I'd like to see that happen. Could it? From my perspective, it would be perhaps the applicant could come down a foot, but the applicant would be better equipped to answer why they want that additional 12 inches. Okay, that's good. I'll ask him. Thanks.
Any other questions? Ms. Pedrosa, I had a question. On the steeple, there are 2 metal things on the sides. Can you tell me what those are? Are they lights or? They look like they're round mounted.
On the steeple, I have a picture up on the PowerPoint. I see the cross. I don't see what.
You don't see it
Just
from
the
that
mounting
side.
brackets.
You have to look on the backs. Well,
Is that on the proposal? Are you talking about the photo simulation? Okay, 1 second.
you can see it on PS. You can barely see a little hump at the top, but I notice it's on that side and it's also on the other side. And I was just curious as I was driving around. I couldn't see it real well, but I didn't know if this is illuminated or.
I don't quite see the.
No, it's not. No, it's not the cross. It's on the concrete part. and you can see a little bump on it, but they're two metal things. There's one on this side, and then if you drive around to the other side, there's another one. And I thought maybe there were lights on the steeple, or are there chimes or something, and those are microphones? I was just kind of curious about it.
No, it's not intended to be illuminated. I believe that's probably just part of the photo, that maybe it's in the rendering part of it, but we can ask the applicant if that's meant to be anything.
Okay, maybe they know, because when I was out there, I did see these metal, and they were a silver on both sides, and so that's why I didn't know if it was a light fixture or if it was maybe a speaker for chimes from the church or something like that, so, okay. Thank
Chair?
you. Yes, Mr. Kramer.
Whatever is there is not going to change, so it's not part of the project, and
Okay.
that may be helpful.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it was okay if it was illumination or something. That was my only concern, so. Okay, thank you. No further questions? Then I will open the public hearing, and I have two cards. The first one is Mr. Walter Gorecki. And would you please come forward? You have 15 minutes, and would you state your name and city of residence, please?
Madam Chairwoman, my name is Walter Gorecki. I work for Synergy Development Services and represent the client, T-Mobile, the applicant. Thank you for your time here today, Commissioners and Chairperson Reynolds, as well as Claudia Pedrosa and Jonathan Kramer. I appreciate the staff report and your presentation. She did a pretty good job presenting to you what we are proposing here today. There were some questions that I would like to clarify and answer any questions you may have, as well as reserve some time for to address any opposition or concerns from the public. To start off with, when you're talking about the minimum height of the actual base itself, it was specifically designed to be minimally increased to place the antennas at the base of the steeple. You know, we didn't try and go above the base of the steeple into the spire to try and gain any additional height. We actually tried to take the existing look of the church steeple and keep with that design for the exact placement of the antennas. The antennas are 59 inches. That's pretty much, you know, that's 5 feet. We're doing a 6-foot extension, which only gives us 6 inches above and below the actual placement of the antennas, which is used for framing. And if we actually try to decrease that height at all, we're going to be blocked by the actual building itself to the north for that propagation. There's some questions regarding E911 compliance. I know that the site is built for and to be compliant with E911. I'm not sure what issues there currently are with the county as far as E911 goes. If there are any that you'd like to present to me, I would certainly bring them back to T-Mobile. But other than that, I can tell you that the site is designed to be E911 compliant. And I'd welcome any comments or questions you may have.
Other questions? Commissioner Adam?
Good evening. I didn't follow you on that. If you lowered the box by a foot, you'd still be able to fit the antennas in, but it would block the, what did you say, the propagation?
The actual, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The actual increase or the cut of the existing steeple and the raising was to place the antennas at that location and to actually build an exterior that would be RF transparent. So we really can't go any lower than that, and we obviously didn't want to go any higher than that. And the exact positioning, if we tried to go any lower than that, would be blocked by the northern roof of the building.
I see. So in other words, it's not a question of fit. It's a question of the efficacy of the antennas. They have to be at this particular height to clear so they're microwaves.
Propagation?
Yeah.
It's actually a combination of both. It's to propagate the signal to the north, and secondly, I think there was a question, did we have to really extend 6 feet? Couldn't we only extend maybe 5 feet, which is the height of the antennas? And the answer is no, we can't, because we've got the interior framing that we have to work in for the placement of the actual antennas and the screening that goes around with it for the integrity of the design and to keep the design to look exactly or match exactly what's there.
I see. Okay, so it's a question of mechanics and efficacy both. then.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes, to follow up on the E911, what you're saying, once this cell site goes in, that if I call 911 and I'm down the street from the cell site and I'm on T-Mobile, it will go to the nearest dispatch center. It will give the callback number, and it'll also give the approximate location.
That is my understanding.
Okay, is that with all T-Mobile sites or just this one?
My understanding is that all new sites that are being built that are macro sites or have the macro equipment, the two basic changes or designs, there's micro equipment that are placed in the right-of-way versus macro. The macro equipment that's being placed there is supposed to be designed in a way so that it is E91 compliant. There are a lot of old sites that are there from all carriers that are trying to become E91 compliant. I couldn't tell you the status of that, but I am told that this site is to be E91 compliant.
Okay, so by being compliant, it will function.
That is my understanding, sir, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lund?
Thank you, Chair Reynolds. Good evening, sir. I promise my question won't require you to move your arm, okay?
Thank you.
There's two suggested conditions, number 10 and 11 from staff report regarding signage, entry warning signs, and roof markings regarding RF dangers and whatnot. Have you agreed to those particular conditions?
I reviewed all of the conditions, and we are agreeable to all the conditions that are in the staff report.
Great, and you didn't move your arm. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you very much. We'll come back to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and I have one other card, Doreen Chang, if you'd like to come forward and state your name and city of residence, and you have 5 minutes. It doesn't matter which microphone.
Good evening. You'll have to forgive me. This is my first public hearing attendance, so I'm very unaware of the etiquette. Mainly, I would like to let the council know that...
Excuse me, would you state your name and city of residence?
My name is Doreen Chang, and I live in Newbury Park. As a matter of fact, I represent a lot of the homeowners that live in the housing complex across the street from the proposed site of these antennas. My main concern is, first of all, the amount of the radiation that these antennas are going to emit. That is my main concern, and I share that with a lot of the housing community homeowners. I understand that this is probably for an emergency, and it is probably for our safety, and I have no argument about that. However, we should also consider the type of the amount of the radiation that these antennas are going to output. Keep in mind that this is 12 antennas. These are very strong. The amount of radiation that they're going to emit has not been counted. The side effects that they are going to affect on us, particularly because we live right across the street, have not been determined. It is something that we are extremely concerned about, and I ask the council to please take this under consideration. Also, the fact that, to be really honest, this is a beautiful area that we live in, and with all disrespect, I mean no disrespect, but how the appearance of these antennas and how they're housed is really not of our concern. How they really affect us and our family and the children are really what we're worried about. And I've been sitting here since the beginning of the hearing. I have not heard this issue being addressed, so I ask the council to please take that under consideration and address it accordingly. And if it's possible, move it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. I'm sure that Mr. Kramer will respond to your questions. Okay. We'll go back to staff. Did you want to respond to any of the comments made?
Thank you. First, in terms of the issue raised by the applicant regarding the framing size, I should have thought of that at the time. The panels that are in front of the antennas are reinforced fiberglass. They are not structural elements, so the framing around it is for weight-bearing issues. And I understand completely now what the applicant's talking about. I should have thought about that when he was discussing it. The panels themselves will be textured and painted to match the existing building, but the framing is necessary, and the 6-inch clearance and above and below is to allow the antennas to operate efficiently. Even if we were to block part of it to reduce it down, there would still be the requirement for framing of around the antennas. Madam Chair, with your permission, since Ms. Chang has not been in front of the Commission before, perhaps I could address her questions directly to her. I'll just directly respond. Thank you. Ms. Chang, I am the city's RF engineer. I look at these projects, and I look at it to determine whether a project is going to meet the federal requirements. This is an area where the FCC, Congress actually has delegated to the FCC national authority to set the standards. The city simply doesn't take an applicant's assertions of compliance at face value. We go through an independent process. I work for the city, I work for you, and I look at all of the information that an applicant provides to determine independently whether a project will comply with all the FCC rules. As a result of my work, number one, I've determined that the project will comply with all of the FCC rules off of the property completely. In other words, at your home, it's fully compliant. There is an area very close to the antennas, basically on the roof of the church, that requires some special conditioning, and we actually have two conditions in the project tonight, conditions 10 and 11, which the applicant has accepted to deal with that close-in issue. So the applicant has complied, they've met their federal obligations to stay within the federal rules in terms of RF emissions. So both as an RF engineer and as a person who's worked at the FCC, helping them to write the explanations how these rules work, I can tell you independently, working for you, that the project does comply with all the federal rules. At that point, that's the end of our exploration of the issue, once we make a determination of federal compliance. Madam Chair, thank you for allowing me to address her directly.
Thank you. Are there any comments that you, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to expand a little bit on Mr. Kramer's discussion regarding the RF emissions. The reason why the city's discussion or research into the RF emissions stop at that point where we determine compliance is because the federal government has completely regulated that area. They do not allow cities any discretion to go beyond that and question whether or not they are safe or not. Once we have determined that the RF emissions meet those standards, the city is not able to proceed any further.
Okay. Are there any other comments of staff? Okay. Mr. Town?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Also, just as a follow-up to that line of questioning, the applicant did look at several alternative locations, as noted on page 6 of your packet, including the nearby fire station and the St. Matthew's Church, but none of those alternatives proved feasible for either technical or other reasons. I wanted to be sure that the Commission was aware of that.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Lund?
Thank you, Chair Reynolds. Just as a follow-up to your explanation, Mr. Kramer, which was very thorough to us, but the speaker, this is the first time here. In layman's terms, could you kind of describe the area of concern or the area of danger in terms of feet so she can turn around to the local homeowners and explain to them that the danger drops off at whatever you tell us?
First off, I wouldn't characterize it as danger, but I would characterize it as the area that is clearly regulated by the FCC. That area extends about 15 feet out from the antennas. So it's in one direction, it's over the roof. In another direction, it's over free space. But at the end of that 15 feet, the FCC says, under the federal standards, you could be there all the time, 100% of the time, 24 hours a day, and never exceed the allowable standard. So it's very close in. But even that even that, we've looked at the close-in situations and crafted the two conditions that are in your package tonight.
Duly noted on the verbiage, and thank you for your explanation. Hopefully that suffices.
Commissioner Adam?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so the antennas are approximately 50, 55 feet in the air. And if I recall from prior hearings, you had said as far as the radiation they emit, it goes outward, correct? It doesn't go down.
That's correct. Actually, one of the areas that has the least amount of signal is directly below the antennas themselves.
So any radiation that's emitted would presumably not go past 15 feet, and it would be emitted at a 50-foot level and not downward towards...
Well, the signal travels well beyond 15 feet, but the area that is controlled by the FCC rules is about 15 feet.
But anyway, the nature of the signal or the radiation, whatever you want to call it, is outward, not down.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Town?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I could just clarify one point. The antennas themselves will actually be mounted at a height of approximately 36 to 41 feet above grade. The maximum height of the steeple itself would be at 59 feet.
That's right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, then we'll go back to the applicant. You have 5 minutes rebuttal time. And would you again state your name and city residence?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My name is Walter Gorecki. I work for Synergy Development Services, represent T-Mobile. I live in Van Nuys, California. My office address is 7406 Valjean. I'd like to go over a couple of quick things. It's really easy for me to come up here and say that, we comply with the FCC guidelines, and I don't think that really means a lot to the resident next door, and I'd like to make available to her the actual EMF study that we provided to the city, which kind of goes into depth the emissions for the antennas that are out there. I drive a hybrid. My wife is very big into the environment. If I thought I was doing any harm at all, I wouldn't be doing it. I'd like to offer that to you. Also, I have some additional handouts which direct towards some independent sites where you can obtain some more information that you can give the community so that maybe they would feel more comfortable with that, and I hope that will help you. Secondly, I'd like to emphasize that we did take a lot of time and care and consideration for the exact placement of this facility. We went to several alternate locations to find this facility. There was a lot of care taken with working with the planning department on the design to come up with a design that actually worked with the existing look of the church so that it would blend in harmoniously. As well as the placement of the equipment. If you look at the equipment, we're placed in the CMU wall, but we're painted in texture to match with the decorative lattice covering that's placed on there, so it helps blend in with the entire area. So I welcome any additional concerns or questions you may have, but just offer to provide additional information to the neighbors regarding their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. There are no more questions, then I'll close the public hearing, and this is the time for deliberation or a motion. Commissioner Fisher?
Yes, I think this project does comply with all the federal and what little the city can do for oversight of a cell site. The rendering on the view of it, I don't see any issue with it. I think it's going to look well, provide needed service, and I'm certainly encouraged with this one being the enhanced 911 capability, because not all cell providers are doing that. That's been going on for years, so that is encouraging for T-Mobile. So with that, move to approve SUP 2007-70455 with the findings and conditions, as well as the updated conditions in our supplemental packet.
Comments to the motion? Any further comments, Mr. Fisher? Then would you please vote?
Motion passed 5-0.
And there is a 10-day appeal period. We'll continue on with the agenda to item number 7, miscellaneous items. I believe there are none. Item 8, Community Development Director reports and referrals. Mr. Town.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page 14 of your packet is the upcoming Planning Commission tentative agenda schedule. We do have hearings scheduled for all of the dates through March 24th. And then also on page 16, again, is a status report on cases that you have considered, which the Commission has considered, and will be heard by the City Council in the upcoming months. And that's all I had at this time.
Thank you. Minutes of the January 28th meeting. Commissioner Adam?
I'd like to move we approve the minutes of the January 28th meeting.
With changes as in the supplemental packet?
That's, yes, with changes as in the supplemental packet.
Thank you. Please vote.
Motion passed 5-0.
And item number 10, AB 1234 reports, and I wanted to report that I attended the Regional Economic Forecast for the Thousand Oaks and Westlake Village areas on Friday, February 8th. Commissioner Lunn.
I attended that conference as well, and the presentation by John Paglia was outstanding in terms of what we're looking at in the Conejo Valley over not only this year but the next few years, and appreciated the opportunity to be able to attend.
Thank you. Commissioner Grumney?
I also attended and would like to thank the city for their continued support in keeping us educated as to issues concerning the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner comments? Commissioner Fisher?
Just one comment on, we came to this meeting with just one agenda item. Certainly, for me, I certainly don't mind coming down here for one item, but looking at the expense and staff time and this facility here, it doesn't seem appropriate to spend all that time and money for one project that could probably be moved to a later date. So I don't know if we could, the commission, what we work under, if that could be changed or pushed to the city council to possibly look at a change to where, you need X number of projects to put together a planning commission meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Town.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to expound just briefly on that point, the reason that the hearing was held this evening in terms of case 6B was that the notice had already been sent out both for that case and the other case, which we subsequently found out had a error in one portion of the public notice. So we had to recommend continuance of that. It is always staff's intent to consolidate cases for the commission's consideration, and the original intent was to hold both of those cases this evening, and we were looking at possibly having the 25th off in terms of no scheduled hearings. Now, we will need to go forward with that case, and staff does apologize for that error. It happened as a result of the automated system that we use. It has never happened before, and we have already put into the system changes to assure that it will not happen again.
Thank you. Any other commission comments? Then I will adjourn our meeting to February 25th at 6:30, and I hope everyone has a wonderful Valentine's Day. Good evening.
you.